loud. Turn it up loud.
Welcome. You're now listening to It's Just a Show podcast. Controversial.
Yo, did she really say that?
No, I think she did.
Entertaining, innovative, real, and raw. Hold on tight. Here's your host, the one and only, Hustle Queen Lee.
Yo, what's good, everybody? I want to thank you for tuning in to another review of Tyler Perry's House of Payne, episodes 9 and 10. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, all that other good stuff. And I appreciate you guys for riding with me, and y'all know how I do. I'm going to get right into it. So, y'all already know where I'm going. So, okay, let's do this. Now, I know at the end of episode 8, Miranda and Calvin shared an intimate kiss. I know I'm not tripping. I know I'm not the only one who saw this. However, I was incredibly baffled when Ella asked Miranda when was the last time she saw Calvin. Miranda said she didn't know, they don't really talk. And I was like, what? Huh? They literally acted as if this kiss did not happen. And so I'm like, okay, wait a minute, time out. Did production play the wrong episodes in the incorrect order? What happened? Because we all saw, all of America who watched, we all saw Miranda and Calvin share a kiss at the end of episode 8. And then to come back with episode 9, and there was no conversation about it. There was no inkling of a hint of what happened after they kissed. So for me, I'm sure like many of you, you really was like, wait a minute. So we're going to act like this kiss didn't happen. They literally acted as if this kiss did not happen. So the opening of episode 9, Miranda stops by Curtis and Ella's house with the intent for Ella to cook some food for her coworkers. Because we all know, and for those who don't know, Miranda can't cook. She can't cook. So she stopped by Ella's. I also thought she went there with the intent to possibly see Calvin. But we'll get to that. So Ella was like, did you come to drop off the baby? Is the baby with you? And she was like, no. She was like, good. Because basically I got stuff to do. So Ella agreed to make this food, prepare this food for Miranda and a few of her coworkers. So Miranda, of course, had her own agenda. So she asked Ella, if Calvin was, dating anybody, seeing anybody. And Ella really didn't want to get into that. And I don't blame her, because if you really want to know that is a question you ask Calvin, which, going back to episode 8, Miranda asked Calvin if he was seeing somebody. So I'm like, what really went on with production? I don't know. But something went terribly wrong in the order of these shows, or if there was a time jump, we don't know what the time jump was. So it kind of put more people in a state of confusion rather than being on the same page and understanding the flow of the show. At least for me, that's how it was. So, Ella basically told her she didn't want to get into that. And she told Ella that she had went on a couple of dates. And what she found out is that everyone has their own thing. Everyone has something going on. So it made her second guess her situation with Calvin and the things they were going through in their marriage. So for me, I'm like, yeah, Miranda, that sounds good, but I'm going to go ahead and call BS on that. And this is why. For those of us who know the origin and how Miranda and Calvin actually got together, Miranda was a con artist. Calvin was someone who she conned and stole from. She stole all his credit cards. She got cash advances on them. She did what she had to do. She stole from this dude, and then she bounced the hell up out of Dodge. That's what Miranda did. She came back a few episodes later. Supposedly she's this changed woman. She gave her life to God. She returned all the money back to Calvin. However, it didn't erase that she lived a life of crime. This is basically what she did. She went around. She had aliases. She had different identities, and she stole from people. This is what Miranda did. And so even after all of that, Calvin saw past that. He saw that this was someone with a great heart. So even though, fast forward, she was saying these things like everyone has their own situation. And I'm like, well, baby, you came in the show. You came in the picture as a con artist, and the family accepted you. They did all of this stuff in spite what you did to them. So, like I said, it sounded good coming from Miranda. However, I just call BS on that. You were just unwilling to fight for your marriage. You was tired of Calvin. You was tired of going through what you were going through, and you didn't feel he was worth it. You didn't feel the marriage was worth fighting for. Now you have to live with your decision to end this. That's just how I feel about it. I don't want her and Calvin to mend anything. It doesn't look like they're going to mend anything. And I want, like Ella said, I want both of y'all to be happy. So she took that to say, oh, Calvin isn't happy? And then Ella's response was, how did you get that out of what I just said? And she was like, we know where you're his mother. You should know, whether he's happy or not. Now, basically this whole episode was Ella making the food for Miranda and her coworkers, and Calvin, he stopped by CJ house to basically explain that he wanted to introduce his new love interest, Laura, to his parents. And so CJ was like, oh, so you really like this girl, like you really like her. He said he was in love with her. And so I said, wait. So we find out from Laura, up until a week prior, her and Calvin, they were seeing each other, but they were also seeing other people until Calvin wanted to make their thing official. And I'm like, Calvin strikes me as the type of man who falls hard and quick. They out there, but they few far in between. I have had one, and it's a different experience when you involve yourself with anyone, whether it be man or woman, who is someone who falls quickly. And I had a guy that was like that, and I had never experienced anything like that. I didn't even know how to take him, because I'm like, within like 3 weeks, he was like, I ain't even gonna lie, like, I'm in love with you. And I was like, what? I don't even know your favorite color yet. What you mean? So, but they out there. And Calvin strikes me as the type of man who falls hard and falls quickly. And he's really sincere in his feelings, yet you don't even really know the women like that. You don't know them that intimately, to fall so deep. But that's just how I view Calvin. And so he wanted to borrow cologne from CJ. And CJ was like, look, if I let you borrow this cow, I know I'm not going to see it again. He was like, no, man, I'm really trying to impress her. And so I ain't going to lie, I laughed. Malik was like, you are too old to be trying to impress people with something that ain't yours. And so I'm like, Malik, you got a point. But Malik got a lot of mouth. Malik talks cash money for someone who doesn't have their name on the lease. Like, he basically told Calvin, like, dude, you can't just be coming in here and you don't knock. I'm like, this ain't your house. This is not your house. You do nothing. You and your baby mama, supposedly, allegedly, are just living here. You're visitors. You have a time frame. You got to get up out of here too, buddy. So you might want to pipe down. So after that, we see Calvin at his parents' house, who are actually having like a little nice movie night. Now, this episode, Curtis, he was almost like the old Curtis. He still was teamed too much, and he still was going over the top, but it reminded me of like the old Curtis, how he would, people trying to have a serious conversation, he has to make his presence known, because at the end of the day, he really wants, I believe, Curtis wants to be involved. He wants to be, in the know of what's happening with his family, yet he's just not the most approachable person or the most calming person for you to feel welcome with exposing, your deepest, sincerest, emotion. So they basically told Calvin, like, you bring a different girl over here all the time. Like, what are you doing? Ella said, I know your divorce is almost over. Y'all been going through this for a long time, and I am happy to see you getting out. But you can't keep bringing girls over here, son. Like, you just can't keep doing that. And so he was like, nah, I'm serious about this one. And the whole time, Laura was out in the car or wherever she was outside. But they were just like, no, we're tired of you bringing, girls over here. So basically, Ella told him to go get her. So she comes in, and I was like, where I know this girl from? And the more I looked at her, if y'all have seen Tyler Perry's Family Funeral, she was the homewrecker. She played the character that slept with the man who passed away in the movie. And so I'm like, that's where I know her from. Oh, I love her. I think she's funny. I really do. I like her as an actress. She comes in, And, she sits down, she introduces herself, so on and so forth. And then her and Ella excuse themselves and they go into the kitchen to continue to, get to know each other a little better. So she was just like, Calvin doesn't know everything about me. And I was like, oh, damn. In today's society, you don't know what's going on. I was like, maybe she's, maybe she was born a man. I'm thinking about all this crazy. Y'all should have saw my mind. I'm thinking about all of this crazy stuff. It could be she running from the law. She, just craziness. So when the show came back from commercial break, she was basically like, this isn't my hair. This isn't my eye color. Like, I have cellulite. Do you think he's going to like me after he finds out, all of that? If I could have thrown something through the television, I would have. I'm like, what? That's what you worried about? So in my mind, I'm like, Laura, you lying. Either one of two things. Either Laura is lying or Tyler really he really rushed that. Because in my mind, I'm like, that can't be, for her to be that like, man, it kind of looked like she had some sense of nervousness or anxiety, and you're telling me it's because it's your hair's not real and those not your eyes, your real eye color. I was like, come on. Well, since she said that, we gonna go with that. And she had cellulite, so that's her issue. We gonna stick with it. So Ella was like, you have to be yourself, and he'll like all of that. You just got to be yourself. You got to be real. And who really wearing their real hair nowadays anyway? Well, a lot of us, are, and some of us are not. Either way, you're beautiful women anyway. So Miranda pops up, and the look on Ella's face was so funny. It was so funny because I was just like, that has to be a weird situation to be in. But that's where episode 9 ended. So episode 10, when it comes on, Miranda comes in because she basically like, what the hell you doing here, Laura? This is before we found out that they knew each other. And so basically they worked together, and Miranda has told Laura everything about Calvin. However, she never mentioned his name. So how Calvin and Laura met, she volunteers at his son's school. Now this what blew me. I'm like, okay, you got 2 sons, and why wouldn't you say the name? You didn't say, she volunteers at Christian school or she volunteers at Calvin Jr. school. It was just like, oh yeah, she volunteered at my son's school. Who says son to their parents? You say a name, like that be the stuff that be getting on my nerves. And I was like, I'm gonna try to be different with this review. I'm going to try not to actually harp on the things that we know exist and just try to stick to what is presented to us. So that's how the circle is. So that's how Miranda, Calvin, and Laura are all connected. So Miranda is still trying to figure out like what Laura is doing here. And she was like, oh, what I was talking to you about, he brought me over here to meet his mom, and I had nothing to worry about. She's so sweet and nice and all of that good stuff like that. And, then 1 + 1 = 2 hit in Laura's mind because she realized like, oh my God, that's your husband. That, I'm with the man that you told me so much about. So Ella tries to go in and get Calvin's attention because she needs him to come into the kitchen because, bro, you got a situation up in here. Now, I have been in a situation like that where it was me, another girl, and the dude I was dating, who called himself trying to go behind my back and was, entertaining someone else. And, me and the girl, see, I never checked the female because I never checked the woman because you have no loyalty to me. My loyalty is with the person who's supposed to be, committed to me. So we devised a plan. We caught his behind. Oh, my God. It looked like life literally sucked out of his face when we both appeared because like I was hiding. This plan was amazing. I was hiding. I'm sorry. She was hiding. So me and him are talking. I'm like, well, what's up with this girl that, nah, baby, that good. I mean, whatever he was saying back then. And then all of a sudden she comes out of nowhere and oh my God, it was so funny. But that's just a very uncomfortable, and it's a very, the tension is so high in moments like that. And so he finally comes into the kitchen. Ella tells him like, look, Miranda's in the kitchen, and he's basically like, well, what is she doing here? And Ella was like, I don't know, but she knows about Laura. Like, she knows Laura, and was basically, kind of giving him a heads up as to what was going on. So Curtis was like, let me get my phone. It's about to be good. And so Calvin walks into the kitchen, and he's just like, Miranda, what are you doing here? And Laura basically was like, Miranda, I'm sorry. And Calvin tells her, what are you apologizing? You don't have to apologize to her. And she was like, yes, I do. She's my friend. Now, that's what threw me. She didn't say, this is my coworker, or no, this is someone that I'm cool with. She said, this is my friend. And I was like, that takes it to a whole nother level. This is my friend. And I didn't know that you were married. Now, this is my belief. Even if you're going through a separation, legally and on paper, you are still married. If you choose to date someone, which a lot of people do when they're in that process of, finalizing their divorce, I believe it is upstanding for you to tell this new person who you're getting involved with that, hey, I'm going through a divorce right now. Me and my wife, or me and my husband, we have not been together intimately in over a year. There is nothing there between us. Don't let this person be in the blind. I've never liked that. Sometimes I probably tell too much information, but I much rather you have too much information than not enough, and then I come back and look like a liar or a deceiver. I don't want those characteristics to represent me. So I try my best to be as honest and open with people as possible. So I felt Laura like, look, this ain't gonna work. I'm gonna leave, so on and so forth. So when, Calvin was like, well, I'll take you home. She was like, no, I drove. Bye. Like, I'm good. And she leaves. So Curtis, Calvin, Miranda, and Ella are in the kitchen. And he's basically was like, he told Miranda the truth. You have no right to ask me about anybody in my life. I don't basically ask you about nobody you with. And then he told Miranda, get out. Get out, he said it. And he was very just like, it's so much anger. It's so much anger there. And I'm a firm believer that before you begin truly dating or getting serious about someone, you got to deal with the issues from your previous relationship. Whether it's, you've been damaged, you've been broken, you've been hurt, your trust has been severed. It makes you kind of look at the opposite sex or whoever you deal with in a different light. You got to deal with that, because if you don't, you're going to take those same issues, those same problems into your new relationship or your new situation. And it's not fair to do that to someone who has no responsibility in what you're dealing with. No fault of their own, but they got to deal with the consequences of you not dealing with your own shit. Sorry. But not dealing with that. And it's detrimental and it's hurtful when someone who really wants to be with you and you just refuse to deal with your leftover junk. So that's vitally important. And so Calvin he's just so angry with Miranda. And so I did appreciate when he was telling Miranda to get out, and Curtis was like, this is my house. This is my house. And of course they had to make a joke, and Ella was like, this is my house too. And he was like, is it, baby? And I'm like, it was funny. It wasn't needed, because I thought that was a real great moment for Curtis to exercise his authority in a real way and in a respectful manner. Like, hey, we're not throwing her out. You can leave out, but this is our house, and that's not what we're doing. So basically, Calvin left. Miranda was there. She was crying, and her and Ella had like a little talk after Curtis finally got his behind about the kitchen. But I just think that the situation with Calvin and Miranda, a lot of people might not like it, but to me, it's very realistic. When you're dealing with divorce and you got kids involved and you got a new person on the horizon and the other person really hasn't gotten over you, and now they're having second thoughts about, could we have made it work? Could we have done something differently? And I know a lot of times we tell people, like, we owe it to ourselves to see what. Now I don't play that. We don't owe it to ourselves to go back. I've never been that person for Alicia. I've never been that person. Once we're done, we're done. I never did that flip-flop. I did have one person, we were together. It ended. We were done emotionally. Sexually, we still continued to deal with each other. And then our last time, it was our last time. And I think we both felt like this is it. Because when you end something, you have to end every aspect of it. And I'm just one person that I don't like lingering things. If we're over, we're over. If we cool, we cool. If we decided to be friends, I don't have sex with friends. You know, so it's like you gotta have a standard, and you have to have just a moral compass about what you live by and what you don't do. And once I tell you something, it's over, this is it, we're done, I stand on that, and I'm just unmovable when it comes to certain things. And when it comes to feelings and emotions, I don't play about things like that, and I'm very serious about it. And I think that Calvin, he's made up in his mind, me and Miranda are over. He just hasn't come to a place where I don't know how to be civil with you, or maybe I don't want to be civil with you. But I do hope we get to a place that we can, and I hope Tyler does this. I don't know if he will, but just being a woman and watching it and hearing it from a man, I would really love to see how men, or this particular man, deals with his issues or deal with the toxic behavior that he and Miranda both displayed in their marriage, so that he can actually have a healthy, successful relationship. And I look at, just the character of Calvin. He has grown up in a family where his parents have been married for years, where Janine and CJ have been married for years. And yes, Janine and CJ did divorce. However, I think within like 2 years, they worked out their issues and they got back together, and they've had their issues, but they have shown and displayed how you fight for your marriage, what you do when things get rocky. And I think that Calvin wants to experience that as well. And I really do hope we get an opportunity to see Calvin and Miranda both happy, just not with each other. So hopefully we will be able to see this. I hope Tyler does go in that direction, and we can see Calvin's healing process. So, yeah, that's really all I have to say about episodes 9 and 10. It wasn't, too much going on. I don't know if I stated it earlier, but we know that Jasmine and Janine and the twins were not in this episode. Neither was Lisa, Malik's baby mama. She was not in either episodes as well. So hopefully, yeah, that's all I got for these. I want to thank you guys for listening. If I missed something, you guys put it in the comments. I just want to thank you guys also for just engaging. Also, I do have a blog. It's www.hustlequeenlee.com. So just make sure you check it out. I basically, if you were a fan of the television show Star, I created like my own fan fiction book or story. It's called Deeper Than Sex. You can find everything there is to know about me. You can find all my YouTube videos. You can find my podcast episodes. You can find links to my books that I've written. You can find just different stories, I try to keep up on the hot topics and write about them. And I'm getting more consistent with that. So make sure you check out the blog, www.hustlequeenlee.com. I appreciate y'all. Y'all be safe out there. Until next time, I'll holler at y'all later. One.